All right, guys. Wacky stuff happened. One of the leads in the Project 2025, effort to ruin things for everyone forever and make your life worse, ban pornography, ban contraception, so on and so forth. His name's Russell, last name, I'm not kidding. Is it Vought? Vote? It's the evil name. Russell Vought sat in a 5-star Washington, D.C. hotel suite? Why did I struggle with that? Literally the boys reference? Yeah, I know. It's pretty wacky. Nominative determinism. Bowing his head in prayer with 2 men he thought were relatives of a wealthy conservative donor. Vought, one of the key authors of Project 2025, a right-wing blueprint for a second Trump turn, expected the meeting would help his think tank secure a substantial contribution. For nearly 2 hours, he talked extensively about his behind-the-scenes work to prepare policy for former President Donald Trump, his expansive views on presidential power, his plans to restrict pornography and immigration, and his complaints that the GOP was too focused on religious liberty rather than Christian nationalism. Or Christian nationism, as he refers to it, I guess. But the men Vought was talking to actually worked for a British journalism nonprofit and were secretly recording him the entire time. Yep! 2 hours, by the way, apparently. The whole conversation, the whole thing, incredible stuff. Really the greatest minds working on this project.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
You are looking at secretly recorded video of Russell Vought, a former cabinet member in the Trump administration.
This year has been predominantly now getting ready for a year 5 of a Trump administration. We have about 350 different documents that are regulations and things of that nature.
Vought, the platform policy director for the Republican National Committee, says he is building the plan for Trump's second term.
I don't know what the hell it is. It's Project 25.
Trump publicly disavowed Project 2025, a conservative blueprint for his administration if he gets reelected. But in private, Vought said that's just politics. The details of the real plans are secret and based on Trump's own beliefs.
Notwithstanding, I expect you to hear 10 more times from the rally the president, distancing himself from the left's boogeyman at Project 2025.
Yeah. And you're not worried about that?
I'm not worried about it. And so I see what he's doing is just very, very conscious, distancing himself from a brand. He's very supportive of what we do, and know that we have all manner of things that we do that's, even unrelated to Project 2025.
Sure.
Vought has been a mastermind behind expanding the powers of the presidency.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Mastermind might be a little bit much. Yeah, basically, I don't know what they capture in this summary, in the CNN summary here, but basically, for one, he extensively reiterates the idea that they're fully on board with the Trump administration and that all efforts from Donald Trump to distance himself from Project 2025 is just politics. Why not watch the full thing? The video? We are going to watch the video. I'm doing a little in-cap summary. Also, the whole video is pretty big. Pretty big. Yes, he said Donald Trump's disavowals of Project 2025 are merely graduate-level politics. 80% of my time is working on the plans of what's necessary to take control of these bureaucracies, Vought said. No, I meant the 2-hour footage. Man, we tried to watch a 50-minute long Project 2025 training video, and sometimes the banality of evil really, emphasis on banality. In discussing Trump's plan to carry out the largest deportation in U.S. history, which the former president has called for publicly, Vought says the expulsion of millions of undocumented immigrants could help, quote, save the country. Once deportations begin, you're really going to be winning a debate along the way about what that looks like, Vought says. And so that's going to cause us to get off of multiculturalism just to be able to sustain and defend the deportation, right? And so that's going to cause us to get off of multiculturalism just to be able to... Do they have that quote in this video?
Some of those policy proposals Trump has supported, 2 sources tell CNN. Trump even hosted a Mar-a-Lago fundraiser 2 years ago for the group Vought founded, the right-wing Center for Renewing America.
He's been at our organization. He's raised money for our organization. He's blessed it.
In this hotel suite, Vogt thinks he's talking to family members of a wealthy donor. But one is a journalist, the other an actor, working undercover for the UK-based Center for Climate Reporting. The center provided the video to CNN on the condition we blur their faces so they can continue their undercover work. The conversation covers a host of issues, like
You probably should blur this then, because this is pretty recognizable. Like, you can tell a lot about how this guy looks from this. I don't know.
abortion and how his position differs from Trump.
He talks about rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I don't actually believe in those exceptions. I want to get to abolition, but we got to win elections. And so I want to get as far as we possibly can.
His view of who should be an American.
So I want to make sure that we can say we're a Christian nation, and my viewpoint is mostly that I would probably be Christian nationism. That's pretty close to Christian nationalism. Can we, if we're going to have legal immigration, can we get people that actually believe in Christianity? Is that something?
You know what one of my favorite Twitter React images is? You know that one, like, atheists if Christians are right, and it's the guy burning in hell? Christians if Christians are right, and it's the guy burning in hell. Because you people are evil, and you do not go to church, and you do not study the Bible, and you do not love thy neighbor, and you do not wash the feet of sex workers. You are going straight to hell, man. I hope, I guess, well, I kind of want you in hell, actually. So no, I don't hope that this is wrong on the details. Jesus. Right after that part, he goes on to say he's also a nationalist. Yeah, I want a good cut together on this.
And my viewpoint is mostly that I would probably be Christian nationism. That's pretty close to Christian nationalism, because I also believe in nationalism.
Okay, so I got into the weeds on this after a stupid debate a while back, but when he says nationalism, he means white nationalism. So have you ever heard the term nation state? A state is a modern political and social construction. You've got your borders, your government, blah, 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 right? Whereas there are nations that do not have statehood. People often refer to nations when talking about the Palestinians, right? About Kurdish people, Uyghur Muslims, Native Americans, just to name a few. There are nations of people because a nation is a very broad term that kind of sort of means culture. It means like a regional group of similar or same culture that have kind of like a political force or weight to themselves in that area, but they don't, it's not a state. And when people say nation state, they mean something that fulfills both of those criteria. So, for example, a deliberately created nation state might be an ethno-state, for example, because they deny immigration to others. Hungary is effectively an nation state because they've made an effort to kind of, make it ethnically Hungarian and not ethnically pluralist. France often leans in the nation state direction with the way their government treats, say, the official Japanese language. Japan, again, it's all kind of a blurry definition because there are plenty of cultures and ethnicities within every country on earth. I bet you that if I read up on it, I would find out that in North Korea, there's like a few hundred people who belong to like an indigenous group that was around before everything happened. Like, their general term is meant to foster a general understanding. So with all that being said, when this dipshit says he believes in nationalism, I promise you, he does not mean, oh yeah, I like America. What he means is, he believes in the value of America being a nation state, a single legal entity and a single people. He's talking about Christian nationalism. It means white nationalism. That's what he's talking about. It's not like that is what he means, I have seen smoother dog whistles from people who are paid a lot less to lie.
Something, or do we have to have, are we not allowed to ask questions about Sharia law?
What could we see America looking like, I guess? In an ideal world.
In an ideal world, I think we could save the country in a sense of, the largest deportation in history.
And even pornography.
We'd have a national ban on pornography if we could, right?
But the most striking of Vogt's statements.
Maybe I do want to watch this entire thing. That's a tomorrow thing. That's a tomorrow thing. That's not a tonight thing. That's a tomorrow thing.
Has to do with presidential power.
George Floyd obviously was not about race. It was about destabilizing the Trump administration.
I promise you, when he says Christian nationalism, he means white nationalism. Oh my God, I promise you, more than anything in the world. Yeah. The George Floyd protests weren't about police brutality and race relations. They were an attack from Black Americans at Donald Trump, savior of the white race. Yeah.
Right. It's the left's belief that structures in society are the problem.
So this. I know that sounds a little innocuous, but that's also deeply eugenicist rhetoric. The idea, if you don't believe structures are the problem, you can only believe people are the problem. What kinds of people is the question? Because the arguing against the idea that structures are the problem is like a self-evidently stupid thing to do. What do you mean structures are... You mean there's no criticism that can be levied against systems? Like nothing, all systems are valid? So then it must be the people in them that are the problem. And yet, you seem to have pretty specific issues with certain groups of people. Don't liberals argue that? Liberalism might tend towards individualism, but most liberals aren't so insane they would argue against the concept of systems being open to critique. Most liberals are willing to agree that, say, for example, slavery is a bad system. The idea that systems aren't to blame, psychotic and indefensible, but it's a gesture at the underlying position, which is that it's certain types of people that are the problem in an essentialist way. Or I guess to put it another way and to make a more direct example, Nazis would never argue it is the beliefs taught in the Torah, in Judaism, that make Jews do this or that. They would just say the Jews are this or that. Because deference to a systemic issue implies that humans are influenced by systems, which means that sometimes problems that you ascribe to a group aren't really an essential problem with the group, but rather with the systems that they are a part of. So, of course, the Nazis didn't do that because they were very, very interested in essentialist criticism. Does that make sense? Yeah, I've been polling a lot more viewers lately, so I'm trying to run back to the classics on the anti-essentialist stuff. You know, I know some new folks have joined in. I love you, by the way. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page when it comes to the fundamental differences here. This is why anti-essentialist analysis is critical if you don't want to be an idiot. or a Nazi, you know. But I repeat myself.
Pulling society down for purposes of revolution is exactly what they want. And what you're seeing at college campuses is a part of that as well. The president has, the ability both along the border and elsewhere to maintain law and order with the military.
He's referring to the fact that, yes, the president does have specific powers when it comes to using the federal government to enforce law and order anywhere within 100 miles of a border or port of entry into the United States. Unfortunately, that's most of the population of the United States because most people live in cities which are right up against the ocean or a border. Like, yeah, basically like 70% of the country. Hold on. USA border map 100 miles. Yeah, you have fewer rights within this zone, I'm afraid, if shit ever goes down. You might notice that a lot of America is in this yellow area. You fall within the enforcement zone. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. Wait, I think this might be slightly alarmist. I'm pretty sure this border is too large. I've seen is this narrower? I feel like this one looks a little more. Is that the same? I don't know. Whatever. It's you can look it up.
A major part of Vote's plan is turning thousands of career federal jobs into political appointments, meaning workers could be fired if they're not sufficiently loyal to Trump.
80% of my time is working on the plans of what's necessary to take control of these bureaucracies. I want to be the person that crushes the deep state. I think there's a lot of different ways to do that. And it is...
Keep in mind that even here, when talking to these two, this is a guy pitching his plan to secure funding. He is still soft selling it. This is not like a mask off, all truths revealed interview. This is him pitching it with its best and most like palatable face for the benefit of investment. This is how he sells it to people who might not be in with the ideology. The real mask off interview would be audio caught between members of Project 2025 off the cuff, not intended to be recorded. And that shit, I think they'd be using a lot of language that I couldn't repeat on YouTube without getting in a fight over you know, hate speech policy. There'd be some seeking and there'd be some hiling, I feel.
Defunding it's impoundment, the ability to not spend money. It's getting rid of their independence.
Even as Vogt talks about the so-called deep state, he claims his group is forming its own to take over on day one.
We are trying to create...
Yeah, it is crazy that the plan to get rid of the deep state is to use unfettered federal power to create a like core team of loyalists who will do all of your bidding like completely unaccountably, you know? The only thing that can beat the deep state is an even bigger, more evil deep state.
A shadow Office of Management and Budget, a shadow National Security Council, and a shadow Office of Legal Counsel. These are the main organs in government that you need outside to create the battle plan.
And you're not going to publish those?
No.
They go straight to...
Yeah, they're very, very close hold.
Wow, Kyung.
Agreed. Yeah, I think we'll watch the entire thing, even though it might be a bit of a drag at points. But consider this like a little tease, okay? We got the tip in. Wow. This should be a bigger news story. All of this blew up after Biden stepped aside. Biden, his team, put no effort into drawing attention to Project 2025. Kamala Harris has made it a core point of the stump speech. Now it's getting brought up at every rally all the time. Now the news orgs are talking about it. You know? Biden was so weak. Yeah. Thank you, Kamala. Like, unironically, though, right? I doubt a debate will happen. It's already been agreed to. We're already locked in. I mean, hell, you want to talk about this being publicized? This exact thing was posted by the Kamala HQ account on Twitter. I know you can't really talk about it because it's not one of the subjects you can banty about freely, but I do wish it was possible to grill Republicans more for the anti-pornography thing. Like, this is one of those things where you can't talk about it, but genuinely, if you did a quiet ballot where you ask, like, every American, especially the guys who mostly vote Republican, you know, do you want a total porn ban? You can no longer legally access porn at all. You can no longer look at the boobies, blah, blah, blah. Like, that'd be like a 95-5. Like, yeah, literally, like, in public, if they were publicly polled, I bet a lot of them would be like, yeah, that's bad. They're like looking nervously at their wife. Yeah, I would never. That stuff's disgusting. But like, obviously, come on, you know. But you can't really talk about it because you can't go up there on the stage and go like, you know, he wants to take your porn away, because then the news would just be like, Kamala Harris loves porn. She wants your babies to watch porn. She just some insane shit, you know. You might be able to get away with that in like a Danish election or something.